Thus Spake Zarathustra. A book for all and none. By Friedrich Nietzsche. Zarathustra's Discourses. 8. The Tree on the Hill. Zarathustra's I had perceived that a certain youth avoided him. And as he walked alone one evening over the hill surrounding the town called the Pied Cow, behold, there found he the youth sitting leaning against a tree, and gazing with wearied look into the valley. Zarathustra thereupon laid hold of the tree beside which the youth sat, and spake thus: If I wish to shake this tree with my hands, I should not be able to do so. But the wind, which we see not, troubleth and bendeth it as it listeth. We are sorest bent and troubled by invisible hands. Thereupon the youth arose disconcerted, and said, I hear Zarathustra, and just now was I thinking of him. Zarathustra answered, Why art thou frightened on that account? But it is the same with man as with the tree. The more he seeketh to rise into the height and light, the more vigorously do his roots struggle earthward, downward, into the dark and deep, into the evil. Yea, into the evil, cried the youth. How is it possible that thou hast discovered my soul? Zarathustra smiled, and said, Many a soul one will never discover, unless one first invent it. Yea, into the evil, cried the youth once more. Thou saidst the truth, Zarathustra. I trust myself no longer, since I sought to rise into the height, and nobody trusted me any longer. How doth that happen? I change too quickly, my today refuteth my yesterday. I often overleap the steps when I clamber, for so doing, none of the steps pardons me. When aloft, I find myself always alone. No one speaketh unto me, the frost of solitude maketh me tremble. What do I seek on the height? My contempt and my longing increase together, the higher I clamber, the more do I despise him who clambereth. What doth he seek on the height? How ashamed I am of my clambering and stumbling! How I mock at my violent panting! How I hate him who fleeth! How tired I am on the height! Here the youth was silent. And Zarathustra contemplated the tree beside which they stood, and spake thus: This tree standeth lonely here on the hills, it hath grown up high above man and beast. And if it wanted to speak, it would have none who could understand it, so high hath it grown. Now it waiteth and waiteth, if for what doth it wait? It dwelleth too close to the seat of the clouds, it waiteth perhaps for the first lightning. When Zarathustra had said this, the youth called out with violent gestures, Yea, Zarathustra, thou speakest the truth. My destruction I longed for, when I desired to be on the height, and thou art the lightning for which I waited. Lo! What have I been since thou hast appeared amongst us? It is mine envy of thee that hath destroyed me. Thus spake the youth, and wept bitterly. Zarathustra, however, put his arm about him, and led the youth away with him. And when they had walked a while together, Zarathustra began to speak thus: It rendeth my heart. Better than thy words express it, thine eyes tell me all thy danger. As yet thou art not free, thou still seekest freedom. Too unslept had thy seeking made thee, and too wakeful. On the open height wouldst thou be, for the stars thirst thy soul. But thy bad impulses also thirst for freedom. Thy wild dogs want liberty, they bark for joy in their cellar when thy spirit endeavoureth to open all prison doors. Still art thou a prisoner, it seemeth to me, who deviseth liberty for himself, or sharp becometh the soul of such prisoners, but also deceitful and wicked. To purify himself is still necessary for the freedman of the spirit. Much of the prison and the mould still remaineth in him, pure hath his eye still to become. Yea, I know thy danger. But by my love and hope I conjure thee, cast not thy love and hope away. Noble thou feelest thyself still, and noble others also feel thee still, though they bear their grudge and cast evil looks. Know this, that to everybody a noble one standeth in the way. Also to the good, a noble one standeth in the way, and even when they call him a good man, they want thereby to put him aside. The new would the noble man create, and a new virtue. The old wanted the good man, and that the old should be conserved. But it is not the danger of the noble man to turn a good man, but lest he should become a blasterer, a scoffer, or a destroyer. Or I have known noble ones who lost their highest hope. And then they disparaged all high hopes. Then lived they shamelessly in temporary pleasures, and beyond the day had hardly an aim. Spirit is also voluptuousness, said they. Then broke the wings of their spirit, and now it creepeth about, and defoleth where it knoweth. Once they thought of becoming heroes, but sensualists are they now. A trouble and a terror is the hero to them. But by my love and hope I conjure thee, cast not away the hero in thy soul. Maintain wholly thy highest hope. Thus spake Zarathustra. 9. The preachers of death. There are preachers of death, and the earth is full of those to whom desistance from life must be preached. Full is the earth of the superfluous, mad is life by the many too many. May they be decoyed out of this life by the life eternal. The yellow ones, so are called the preachers of death, or the black ones. But I will show them unto you in other colors besides. They are the terrible ones who carry about in themselves the beast of prey, and have no choice except lusts or self-laceration. And even their lusts are self-laceration. They have not yet become men, those terrible ones. May they preach desistance from life, and pass away themselves. They are the spiritually consumptive ones, hardly are they born when they begin to die, and long for doctrines of lassitude and renunciation. They would fain be dead, and we should approve of their wish. Let us beware of awakening those dead ones, and of damaging those living coffins. They meet an invalid, or an old man, or a corpse, and immediately they say, life is refuted. But they only are refuted, and their eye, which seeth only one aspect of existence. Shrouded in thick melancholy, and eager for the little casualties that bring death, thus do they wait, and clench their teeth. Or else, they grasp at sweetmeats, and mock at their childishness thereby. They cling to their straw of life, and mock at their still clinging to it. Their wisdom speaketh thus, a fool, he who remaineth alive, but so far are we fools. And that is the foolishest thing in life. Life is only suffering, so say others, and lie not. Then see to it that why cease. See to it that the life ceaseth which is only suffering. And let this be the teaching of your virtue, thou shalt slay thyself. Thou shalt steal away from thyself. Lust is sin, so say some who preach death, let us go apart and beget no children. Giving birth is troublesome, say others, why still give birth? One beareth only the unfortunate. And they also are preachers of death. Pity is necessary, so said a third party. Take what I have. Take what I am. So much less doth life bind me. Were they consistently pitiful, then would they make their neighbors sick of life. To be wicked, that would be their true goodness. But they want to be rid of life, what care they if they bind others still faster with their chains and gifts? And ye also, to whom life is rough labor and disquiet, are ye not very tired of life? Are ye not very ripe for the sermon of death? All ye to whom rough labor is dear, and the rapid, new, and strange, ye put up with yourselves badly, your diligence is flight, and the will to self-forgetfulness. If you believed more in life, then would ye devote yourselves less to the momentary. But for waiting, ye have not enough of capacity in you, nor even for idling. Everywhere resounded the voices of those who preach death, and the earth is full of those to whom death hath to be preached. Or life eternal, it is all the same to me, if only they pass away quickly. Thus spake Zarathustra. 10. War and warriors. By our best enemies we do not want to be spared, nor by those either whom we love from the very heart. So let me tell you the truth. My brethren in war, I love you from the very heart. I am, and was ever, your counterpart. And I am also your best enemy. So let me tell you the truth. I know the hatred and envy of your hearts. Ye are not great enough not to know of hatred and envy. Then be great enough not to be ashamed of them. And if ye cannot be saints of knowledge, then, I pray you, be at least its warriors. They are the companions and forerunners of such saintship. I see many soldiers, could I but see many warriors. Uniform one coloureth what they wear, may it not be uniform what they therewith hide. Ye shall be those whose eyes ever seek for an enemy, for your enemy. And with some of you there is hatred at first sight. Your enemy shall ye seek, your war shall ye wage, and for the sake of your thoughts. And if your thoughts succumb, your uprightness shall still shout triumph thereby. Ye shall love peace as a means to new wars, and the short peace more than the long. You are advised not to work, but to fight. You are advised not to peace, but to victory. Let your work be a fight, let your peace be a victory. One can only be silent and sit peacefully when one hath arrow and bow, otherwise one prattleth and quarreleth. Let your peace be a victory. Ye say it is the good cause which halloweth even war. I say unto you, it is the good war which halloweth every cause. War and courage have done more great things than charity. Not your sympathy, but your bravery hath hitherto saved the victims. What is good, ye ask? To be brave is good. Let the little girls say, to be good is what is pretty, and at the same time touching. They call you heartless, but your heart is true, and I love the bashfulness of your goodwill. Ye are ashamed of your flaw, and others are ashamed of their ebb. Ye are ugly. Well then, my brethren, take the sublime about you, the mantle of the ugly. And when your soul becometh great, then doth it become haughty, and in your sublimity there is wickedness. I know you. In wickedness the haughty man and the weakling meet, but they misunderstand one another. I know you. You shall only have enemies to be hated, but not enemies to be despised. You must be proud of your enemies, or then the successes of your enemies are also your successes. Resistance, that is the distinction of the slave. Let your distinction be obedience. Let your commanding itself be obeying. To the good warrior soundeth thou shalt, pleasanter than I will. And all that is dear unto you, ye shall first have it commanded unto you. Let your love to life be love to your highest hope, and let your highest hope be the highest thought of life. Your highest thought, however, ye shall have it commanded unto you by me, and it is this: man is something that is to be surpassed. So live your life of obedience and of war. What matter about long life? What warrior wisheth to be spared? I spare you not, I love you from my very heart, my brethren in war. Thus spake Zarathustra. 11. The new idol. Somewhere there are still peoples and herds, but not with us, my brethren, here there are states. A state. What is that? Well, open now your ears unto me, for now will I say unto you my word concerning the death of peoples. A state is called the coldest of all cold monsters. Coldly lieth it also, and this like creepeth from its mouth, I the state am the people. It is a lie. Creators were they who created peoples, and hung a faith and a love over them, thus they served life. Destroyers are they who lay snares for many, and call it the state, they hang a sword and 100 cravings over them. Where there is still a people, there the state is not understood, but hated as the evil eye, and as sin against laws and customs. This sign I give unto you, every people speaketh its language of good and evil, this its neighbor understandeth not. Its language hath it devised for itself in laws and customs. But the state lieth in all languages of good and evil, and whatever it saith it lieth, and whatever it hath stolen. False is everything in it, with stolen teeth it biteth, the biting one. False are even its bowels. Confusion of language of good and evil, this sign I give unto you as the sign of the state. Verily, the will to death indicateth this sign. Verily, it beckoneth unto the preachers of death. Many too many are born, for the superfluous once was the state devised. See just how it enterceth them to it, the many too many. How it swalloweth and cheweth and recheweth them. On earth there is nothing greater than I, it is I who am the regulating finger of God, thus roareth the monster. And not only the long-eared and short-sighted fall upon their knees. Oh! Even in your ears, ye great souls, it whispereth its gloomy lies. Oh! It findeth out the rich hearts which willingly lavish themselves. Yea, it findeth you out too, ye conquerors of the old God. Weary ye became of the conflict, and now your weariness serveth the new idol. Heroes and honorable ones, it would fain set up around it the new idol. Gladly it basketh in the sunshine of good consciences, the cold monster. Everything will it give you, if why you worship it, the new idol, thus it purchaseth the lustre of your virtue, and the glance of your proud eyes. It seeketh to allure by means of you, the many too many. Yea, the hellish artifice hath here been devised, a death horse jingling with the trappings of divine honors. Yea, a dying for many hath here been devised, which glorifieth itself as life, verily, a hearty service unto all preachers of death. The state, I call it, where all are poison drinkers, the good and the bad, the state, where all lose themselves, the good and the bad, the state, where the slow suicide of all is called a life. Just see these superfluous ones. They steal the works of the inventors and the treasures of the wise. Culture, they call their theft, and everything becometh sickness and trouble unto them. Just see these superfluous ones. Sick are they always, they vomit their bile and call it a newspaper. They devour one another, and cannot even digest themselves. Just see these superfluous ones. Wealth they acquire and become poorer thereby. Power they seek for, and above all, the lever of power, much money, these impotent ones. See them clamber, these nimble apes. They clamber over one another, and thus scuffle into the mud and the abyss. Towards the throne they all strive, it is their madness, as if happiness sat on the throne. Oft times sitteth filth on the throne, and oft times also the throne on filth. Madmen they all seem to me, and clambering apes, and too eager. Badly smelleth their idol to me, the cold monster, badly they all smell to me, these idolaters. My brethren, will ye suffocate in the fumes of their maws and appetites? Better break the windows and jump into the open air. Do go out of the way of the bad odor. Withdraw from the idolatry of the superfluous. Do go out of the way of the bad odor. Withdraw from the steam of these human sacrifices. Open still remaineth the earth for great souls. Empty are still many sites for lone ones and twain ones, around which floated the odor of tranquil seas. Open still remaineth a free life for great souls. Verily, he who possesseth little is so much the less possessed, blessed be moderate poverty. There, where the state saith, there only commenceth the man who is not superfluous, there commenceth the song of the necessary ones, the single and irreplaceable melody. There, where the state ceaseth, pray look thither, my brethren. Do ye not see it, the rainbow and the bridges of the Superman? Thus spake Zarathustra. 12. The flies in the marketplace. Flee, my friend, into thy solitude. I see thee deafened with the noise of the great men, and stung all over with the stings of the little ones. Admirably do forest and rock know how to be silent with thee. Resemble again the tree which thou lovest, the broad-branched one, silently and attentively it o'erhangeth the sea. Where solitude in death, there beginneth the marketplace, and where the marketplace beginneth, there beginneth also the noise of the great actors, and the buzzing of the poison flies. In the world even the best things are worthless without those who represent them, those representers, the people call great men. Little do the people understand what is great, that is to say, the creating agency. But they have a taste for all representers and actors of great things. Around the devisers of new values revolveth the world, invisibly it revolveth. But around the actors revolve the people and the glory, such is the course of things. Spirit hath the actor, but little conscience of the spirit. He believeth always in that wherewith he mocketh believe most strongly, in himself. Tomorrow he hath a new belief, and the day after, one still newer. Sharp perceptions hath he, like the people, and changeable humors. To upset, that meaneth with him to prove. To drive mad, that meaneth with him to convince. And blood is counted by him as the best of all arguments. A truth which only glideth into fine ears, he calleth falsehood and trumpery. Verily, he believeth only in gods that make a great noise in the world. Full of clattering buffoons is the marketplace, and the people glory in their great men. These are for them the masters of the hour. But the hour praiseth them, so they praise thee. And also from thee they want yea or nay. Alas! Thou wouldst set thy chair betwixt for and against. On account of those absolute and impatient ones, be not jealous, thou lover of truth. Never yet did truth cling to the arm of an absolute one. On account of those abrupt ones, return into thy security, only in the marketplace is one assailed by ye. Or nay. Slow is the experience of all deep fountains, long have they to wait until they know what hath fallen into their depths. Away from the marketplace and from fame taketh place all that is great, away from the marketplace and from fame have ever dwelt the devisers of new values. Flee, my friend, into thy solitude, I see thee stung all over by the poisonous flies. Flee thither, where a rough, strong breeze bloweth. Flee into thy solitude. Thou hast lived too closely to the small and the pitiable. Flee from their invisible vengeance. Towards thee they have nothing but vengeance. Raise no longer an arm against them. Innumerable are they, and it is not thy lot to be a fly-flap. Innumerable are the small and pitiable ones, and of many a proud structure, raindrops and weeds have been the ruin. Thou art not stone, but already hast thou become hollow by the numerous drops. Thou wilt yet break and burst by the numerous drops. Exhausted I see thee, by poisonous flies, bleeding I see thee, and torn at 100 spots, and thy pride will not even upbraid. Blood they would have from thee in all innocence, blood their bloodless souls crave for, and they sting, therefore, in all innocence. But thou, profound one, thou sufferest too profoundly even from small wounds, and ere thou hadst recovered, the same poison worm crawled over thy hand. Too proud art thou to kill these sweet tooths. But take care lest it be thy fate to suffer all their poisonous injustice. They buzz around thee also with their praise, obtrusiveness is their praise. They want to be close to thy skin and thy blood. They flatter thee, as one flattereth a god or devil, they whimper before thee, as before a god or devil. What doth it come to? Flatterers are they, and whimperers, and nothing more. Often, also, do they show themselves to thee as amiable ones. But that hath ever been the prudence of the cowardly. Yet, the cowardly are wise. They think much about thee with their circumscribed souls, thou art always suspected by them. Whatever is much thought about is at last thought suspicious. They punish thee for all thy virtues. They pardon thee in their inmost hearts only, for thine errors. Because thou art gentle and of upright character, thou sayest, blameless are they for their small existence. But their circumscribed souls think, blamable is all great existence. Even when thou art gentle towards them, they still feel themselves despised by thee, and they repay thy beneficence with secret maleficence. Thy silent pride is always counter to their taste, and they rejoice if once thou be humble enough to be frivolous. What we recognize in a man, we also irritate in him. Therefore be on your guard against the small ones. In thy presence they feel themselves small, and their baseness gleameth and gloweth against thee in invisible vengeance. Sawest thou not how often they became dumb when thou approached them, and how their energy left them like the smoke of an extinguishing fire? Yea, my friend, the bad conscience art thou of thy neighbors, for they are unworthy of thee. Therefore they hate thee, and would fain suck thy blood. Thy neighbors will always be poisonous flies. What is great in thee, that itself must make them more poisonous, and always more fly-like. Flee, my friend, into thy solitude, and thither, where a rough strong breeze bloweth. It is not thy lot to be a fly-flap. Thus spake Zarathustra. 13. Chastity. I love the forest. It is bad to live in cities, there are too many of the lustful. Is it not better to fall into the hands of a murderer than into the dreams of a lustful woman? And just look at these men, I said it, they know nothing better on earth than to lie with a woman. Filth is at the bottom of their souls, and alas, if their filth had still spirit in it, would that you were perfect, at least as animals. But to animals belongeth innocence. Do I counsel you to slay your instincts? I counsel you to innocence in your instincts. Do I counsel you to chastity? Chastity is a virtue with some, but with many almost a vice. These are continent, to be sure, but doggish lust looketh enviously out of all that they do. even into the heights of their virtue and into their cold spirit doth this creature follow them with its discord. And how nicely can doggish lust beg for a piece of spirit when a piece of flesh is denied it? Ye love tragedies and all that breaketh the heart. But I am distrustful of your doggish lust. Ye have two cruel eyes, and ye look wantonly towards the sufferers. Hath not your lust just disguised itself and taken the name of fellow-suffering? And also this parable give I unto you, not a few who meant to cast out their devil went thereby into the swine themselves. To whom chastity is difficult, it is to be dissuaded, lest it become the road to hell, to filth and lust of soul. Do I speak of filthy things? That is not the worst thing for me to do. Not when the truth is filthy, but when it is shallow, doth the discerning one go unwillingly into its waters. Verily, they are chaste ones from their very nature, they are gentler of heart, and laugh better and oftener than you. They laugh also at chastity, and ask, what is chastity? Is chastity not folly? But the folly came unto us, and not we unto it. We offered that guest harbour and heart, now it dwelleth with us, let it stay as long as it will. Thus spake Zarathustra. The friend. One is always too many about me, think the anchorite. Always wants one that mocketh two in the long run. I and me are always too earnestly in conversation, how could it be endured if there were not a friend? The friend of the anchorite is always the third one is the cock which preventeth the conversation of the two sinking into the depth. Oh! There are too many depths for all anchorites. Therefore, do they long so much for a friend, and for his elevation. Our faith in others betrayeth wherein we would fain have faith in ourselves. Our longing for a friend is our betrayer. And often with our love we want merely to overleap envy. And often we attack and make ourselves enemies, to conceal that we are vulnerable. Be at least mine enemy. Thus speaketh the true reverence, which doth not venture to solicit friendship. If one would have a friend, then must one also be willing to wage war for him, and in order to wage war, one must be capable of being an enemy. One ought still to honor the enemy in one's friend. Canst thou go nigh unto thy friend, and not go over to him? In one's friend one shall have one's best enemy. Thou shalt be closest unto him with thy heart when thou withstandest him. Thou wouldst wear no raiment before thy friend. It is in honor of thy friend that thou showest thyself to him as thou art. But he wisheth thee to the devil on that account. He who mocketh no secret of himself shocketh, so much reason have ye to fear nakedness. Aye, if you were gods, ye could then be ashamed of clothing. Thou canst not adorn thyself fine enough for thy friend, for thou shalt be unto him an arrow and a longing for the Superman. Sawest thou ever thy friend asleep, to know how he looketh? What is usually the countenance of thy friend? It is thine own countenance, in a coarse and imperfect mirror. Sawest thou ever thy friend asleep? Wert thou not dismayed at thy friend looking so? O my friend, man is something that hath to be surpassed. In divining and keeping silence shall the friend be a master, not everything must thou wish to see. Thy dream shall disclose unto thee what thy friend doeth when awake. Let thy pity be a divining, to know first if thy friend wanteth pity. Perhaps he loveth in thee the unmoved eye and the look of eternity. Let thy pity for thy friend be hid under a hard shell, thou shalt bite out a tooth upon it. Thus will it have delicacy and sweetness. Art thou pure air and solitude and bread and medicine to thy friend. Many a one cannot loosen his own fetters, but is nevertheless his friend's emancipator. Art thou a slave? Then thou canst not be a friend. Art thou a tyrant? Then thou canst not have friends. Far too long hath there been a slave and a tyrant concealed in woman. On that account woman is not yet capable of friendship, she knoweth only love. In woman's love there is injustice and blindness to all she doth not love. And even in woman's conscious love, there is still always surprise and lightning and night along with the light. As yet woman is not capable of friendship, women are still cats and bats. Or at the best, cows. As yet woman is not capable of friendship. But tell me, ye men, who of you are capable of friendship? Oh, your poverty, ye men, and your sordidness of soul. As much as ye give to your friend, will I give even to my foe, and will not have become poorer thereby. There is comradeship, may there be friendship. Thus spake Zarathustra. Thank you for watching. If you are enjoying Thus Spake Zarathustra by Friedrich Nietzsche, please let us know by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. See you soon for more of this classic masterwork.